Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in Season 2 Part 48 of What If the Transformers Were in My Hero Academia. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 94, Love, War and Robots. Cybertron, 80 million years ago. To say that Flare Up was excited was an understatement. She had spent so long putting a big special event together, in the middle of a war no less, and it was all about to come to fruition. All she needed was the bot of the hour. Her older brother, Hot Rod. Ever since the day they emerged from Cybertron one after the other, they had each other's backs, and that was no exception even now during the war. And today marked their 2 millionth stellar cycle on Cybertron. A momentous occasion that she was sure is the pit they were going to celebrate together, along with some very important friends. So, after retrieving Hot Rod from the barracks, she hastily urged him through the ruined streets of Yakan. It was a rare moment of calm, where the fighting had paused thanks to the Autobot heavy artillery having been brought out. Flare Up had to make sure to thank Omega Supreme later, but for now, it was her duty to get her brother to their destination, blindfolded. "Gah, sis, where the heck are you taking me?" Hot Rod asked as he stumbled his way through the streets. "Seriously, I was going over some very important battle plans." "Oh, don't be such a sludge dipper," Flare encouraged, smacking him across the back. "Can't ya at least humor your sister a bit?" Hot Rod stopped momentarily, placing his hands on his hips. "Well, forgive me if being taken someplace while I can see a thing makes me nervous. Especially since, ya know, we're in the middle of a war." Bro, where we're going, the war won't matter, least for a lil bit." Her statement made the red mech's curiosity peak, and through that alone, he kept going. Flare made sure to keep a hold of him along the way so he wouldn't trail off, and when he heard a set of sliding doors open, he figured they must have entered some sort of building, even though most of Yakan's structures were abandoned. Okay, are we here?" "Yep, you can take the blindfold off." Doing so, Hot Rod tore the cloth away from his optics, which immediately widened at the sight before him. They were at McAdams, and the place was adorned wall-to-wall with colorful metal streamers and other decorations. To top it all off, there was a big, holographic banner over the bar, one that said in big, flashing letters, "Happy Creation Day," which was subsequently shouted in his face by all of his closest friends. Gathered around the establishment were Autobots from all over the war, including the likes of Applink and his squad, which Flare Up was a part of, as well as Hot Rod's own squad. Those being, RC, Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, Strongarm, Windblade and B-127, who were at the forefront, of course. Also there, though, were Jazz, Cliffjumper, Bulkhead and Wheeljack, with the latter two evidently already inebriated. Hot Rod could hardly believe it, his optics darting between the party and his smiling sister. No way. Are you serious? Happy Creation Day, big brother. Flare Up said before pulling him into a hug. Flare, you didn't have to go through all of this for me. Maybe not, but I wanted to. She pulled back and winked up at him. And besides, it's for both of us. I just figured you'd appreciate the surprise more. Approaching from behind, Windblade and B came up and raised their glasses of energon to the two. Flare pretty much put everything she had and then some into setting up this party. Roddy, the city speaker grinned. "You've got one awesome sister, that's for sure." B pumped his fist into the air. Yeah, and lemme tell ya, anything to get our minds off this clusterfrag of a war is alright by me. Hot Rod took a deep intake at that. Yeah, fair point. I wish this could last forever. Don't we all, lad? A voice spoke up from behind the counter, leading Hot Rod's optics to shift up and see McAdam himself stroll in. He smiled to the sibling bots, setting 2 glasses of energon on the counter as he beckoned them over. "There's the bots of the hour. Come now, rounds are all on me tonight." Mac, Hot Rod approached the counter, his features shifting from excitement to concern. "You don't need to do that. How do you expect to keep your business open like that?" But the older bot wasn't bothered in the least. You needn't worry about that, Hot Rod. I've got enough energon stores to last me far longer than you realize." He sent the two a wink. "And besides, with how many customers I still get during these times, I'll be fine for one night." Just gotta remember the one rule about my establishment. As if on cue, every bot in the place called out, leave the war at the door. On that note, Hot Rod grinned and raised his glass. Haha, alright, then let's get this party star. VRRT. Aha. All of a sudden, the front door opened again, and the Autobots were left chilled by the sight of a Seeker standing there, wearing a malevolent grin. This Seeker had a rather dull color scheme, not really notable like Starscream, Thundercracker or Skywarp. But even so, their intentions were pretty clear the moment they entered. Hee, I knew I'd find something interesting if I tailed you Autobots. He said as he aimed his arm blasters at the patrons. Now, time to do some CULLI, yeah. However, the Seeker was promptly pulled back and slammed against the road, throwing him for a loop. Ow. Hey, what's the big, ah? To his astonishment, the bot who was looming over him was wearing a cloak over their upper torso, but that did little to disguise their identity. My lord. My apologies for, URK. What do you think you're doing? The Decepticon leader bellowed, taking the Seeker by the neck. What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm exterminating a bunch of Auto. You know the rule. The larger Con bellowed, his grip tightening around the Seeker's neck. We leave the war at the door. No exceptions. The Seeker snarled, glowering at his leader in contempt. I thought you were strong. Willing to do anything to destroy our oppressors. And you're letting a simple bartender's rules beat you into submission. That, simple bartender, is far stronger than you or I could ever hope to be. The Con's grip tightened on his insubordinate follower, energon leaking from his neck by that point. Fear filled the Seeker's eyes as the Decepticon leader raised his free hand toward his chest. And, if you don't agree with the rules. *SKREAATCH. In one fell swoop, Megatron punched his way through the Seeker's body, grabbed his spark, and then crushed it with his bare hands. He pulled his arm back out of the hole as the Seeker's color faded to gray, and he discarded the corpse entirely before entering the bar. The Autobots gazed upon him in astonishment as he pulled back his hood, revealing himself. My apologies, McAdam, he said with a respectful bow. Some of my followers are a bit too radical. A sigh passed the bartender's lips, but his smile remained. It's fine, Megatron. But, you do know that it's dangerous for you here in Yakin. You were banished long ago. I am aware. Megatron acknowledged, approaching the bar. But with how much stress and aggravation this job entails, even a brief reprieve is enough reason to risk it. He reached into his storage compartment, pulling out a handful of Shannix and placing it on the counter. I'll be in and out quickly, though, as I see that there's a celebration at hand. He spared a brief grin toward the siblings at his left. Hot Rod. Flare up. Megatron. Hot Rod acknowledged. Flare up narrowed her optics at him. Hope you realize you're kinda killin' the vibe here. Again, I am well aware. Megatron assured, his drink sliding across the bar table and into his hand. He promptly knocked the energon back and brought it back down, a satisfied sigh escaping him before he stood up to leave. Have a good night, everyone. I was never here. And just like that, Megatron had left, leaving the others baffled. What the heck was that? Windblade uttered. Hey, he told us to forget he was here. B piped up, raising his glass with optimism. And he made sure the party wasn't wrecked by his own Seeker, so, how about we just let it slide this once and enjoy ourselves? There was a short pause before the group of Autobots collectively shrugged. Screw it. Let's party. Hot Rod exclaimed, raising his glass in a toast. The others all joined in with a cheer, chanting the names of the two siblings. Hot Rod. Flare up. Hot Rod. Flare up. Flare up. Flare up. Earth. Present day. Flare up. The Autobot scout gasped and shot up to her feet, brought out of her daze by someone calling her name. What's who's, she sputtered out in shock. Down below, Itsuka backed away, raising her hands to get her attention. Whoa, Flare, it's alright. She stated calmly, placing one hand over her chest. It's just me. Blinking, Flare Up refocused her optics, shifting them down toward her human companion. Oh, Itsuka, sorry there, love. She knelt down to the redhead with an apologetic gaze. I suppose I was zoned out for a bit there, wasn't I? A little bit, yeah. Itsuka nodded. You were just staring into space. Hearing this, the speedy femme tightened her lips, craning her head down in embarrassment. From that alone, Itsuka could tell that something was wrong. You haven't been yourself for a couple days, Flare, she stated resolutely. You wanna share what's on your mind. A sigh escaped Flare Up as she sat back down on the floor, crossing her legs and resting her arms upon them. Itsuka, I'm pretty sure I already filled you in on. I know that these Predacons did wrong by you. The class rep of 1B strode up and climbed into Flare Up's lap, getting as close as she could to rub her friend's arm comfortingly. And that you could have prevented a friend's death because of it. But you didn't tell me who this friend of yours is. If it's affecting you this much, they must have been pretty important to you, right? Once again, Flare Up was silent, to which Itsuka leaned her head against her arm. Let me help you, please. Okay. You deserve to know at any rate, love. Flare Up gave her partner a sad smile. I trust ya, after all. The sentiment made Itsuka smile back, and from there, Flare continued. You asked if this bot was important to me. Well, the answer to that is, more than you can even imagine. He wasn't just a friend, he was practically my big brother. Itsuka's eyes widened at that. What was his name? With a shaky breath, Flare replied, Hot Rod. His name was Hot Rod. Why do I feel like I've heard that name before? That made Flare Up chuckle slightly, placing a hand on her friend's back. Knowin' how many bots sing his praises, it's likely you have, and whenever he's brought up, it usually leads back to the same exact feelin', sadness. Disappointment that he isn't here anymore. It sounds like he was a pretty beloved bot. Itsuka concluded. No kiddin'. Hot Rod was pretty universally loved all across Cybertron, brightening the attitude of any bot who was willin' to be friends with him. Flare Up gave a small smirk. And if you were his enemy, he'd make sure you hated him. He was a right tosser when he wanted to be, let me tell ya. In fact, he became so universally loved across the Autobots, and so despised by the Decepticons, that a lot of rumors went around that he was some chosen one, destined to be the next Prime after Optimus. Wow. So what, would he have been called Rodimus Prime, or something? Flare Up couldn't help but laugh at the notion. Hey, you joke, but that's actually a name that was pitched for him. The two giggled over the coincidence before the femme moved on. But those days are over now. Roddy's gone and, the best thing I can do for him now is to carry on his memory. Itsuka placed a supportive hand on her friend's arm. And I'm sure you do that every single day, Flare. Hot Rod would be proud of you, I know it. Thanks, love. With another deep intake, Flare Up slipped her hand under her human companion, lifting her as she stood up from the floor. But mopin' around here won't do me any good. Sides, it's probably time I get ready for my next patrol. Wanna see me off? Sure thing, Itsuka said. Wish I could come with you, though. Me too, but you know the rules. On that note, the duo set out into the base toward the main control room, where the others were likely waiting. Along the way, though, they came across Abara, Tetsu, and Setsuna, along with the street action Minicon team waiting in the hallway. Oh, and hello to you lot, too. The six all perked up at their arrival. Hey, Flare Up. Setsuna greeted first. How are ya doin'? Leaning down, Flare Up set Itsuka down next to her classmates. Been better. But after having a lil powwow with Itsuka, I'm feelin' alright. Abara bowed her head toward the Autobot scout. I'm sorry that you've been feeling down lately. It must not be easy, having to confront such miserable faces from your past. Rolling her optics, Flare Up waved it off. What can ya do? Most those Predacons are a bunch of annoying buggers. She smiled down to the group reassuringly. I can handle him next time they get in my way. Especially since now, I've got backup. Hell yeah, ya do. Tetsu said with a big, toothy grin. And lemme tell ya, we're ready to rock and roll. Those cons won't know what hit 'em when we. Whoa, slow down there, dude. Grinder halted, the Minicon placing a hand on his friend's shoulders. Didn't you guys hear Prime the first time? Highwire nodded firmly. Yeah, you guys are off the battlefield. End of discussion. Both Tetsu and Setsuna moaned frustratedly at the reminder, hanging their heads in disappointment. Man, that sucks. Setsuna grumbled. We've only been out in the field a couple times while the others all get like, 4, maybe 5 times to show their stuff. Setsuna, you must understand, Sir Shock implored. Optimus Prime has ordered this for your safety. We have absolutely no clue who the new Decepticons who've come to this planet are, nor do we know what they're capable of. For your own safety, it is imperative that you all remain here, where it's safe. She's right, guys. Itsuka affirmed without question. And as class rep, it's my job to make sure that you guys don't get in over your head. So promise me you won't go anywhere through that ground bridge. Okay. She received a pair of despondent okays from the duo, to which she let out a short sigh. In any case, Flare-Up is about to head out on her next patrol, and I'm going to see her off. You guys up for doing anything today? Perhaps we could make an excursion to the mall. Abara suggested happily as they started walking to the control room. Kaminari told me about his class's excursion the other day, and I think it'd be a great idea to prepare ourselves for the camping trip as well. The idea certainly intrigued Itsuka, for sure. That's not a bad thought, actually. What do you guys think we? *BWAM. All of a sudden, the group gave a collective gasp as an alarm began blaring through the base, startling them all. Oh, for what now? Setsuna exclaimed. That can't be good, Flare-Up said, going into a jog while ushering the others to keep up. Come on, this could be important. Once the teens and Minicons made it to the control room, they were met with Optimus, Jetfire, Grimlock, Eraser and Roadbuster charging in, with Red Alert and May already at the main console. Flare-Up quickly joined them, the others bringing up the rear. Red, what's happening? She asked. An emergency transmission, from Sideswipe. Red Alert answered, sounding surprised by who was calling. That's odd, Optimus stated as the alarm stopped. Sideswipe was sent to patrol the Appalachian Mountains in the United States. He reached down and answered the transmission. Sideswipe, come in. Sideswipe answered not even a second later. Prime. Glad to hear ya. I think you're gonna be pretty interested in what I found. The Autobots took a double take when he said that. What? Sideswipe, you made an emergency call. Grimlock asserted with a slightly irritated growl. That's reserved only for the most critical situations like a Decepticon attack. Unless you've found a con carcass, this had better be good. Sorry, Grim, not even close. That said, this is what I'm looking at right now. All of a sudden, the computer screen flashed on, sending a live feed from Sideswipe's optics. And there, sitting on the side of a large mountain, was something that made the Autobots reel in astonishment. It was a stasis pod, not unlike the one that Eraser was found in. Only this one was half buried in the ground. So, you interested now? By the Allspark, Eraser muttered. Another stasis pod. Roadbuster tilted his head down to the maximal. Another. How many them have ya found? Jetfire raised 2 fingers. Just 2 so far. First was Eraser's, which I wasn't here for. And then Seaspray's, which ya know how that went. What's the POD's condition, Sideswipe? Red Alert inquired. The live feed from Sideswipe's optics zoomed in, getting a closer look at the pod. Looks like it must have been here for a while. It's got a bunch of rusted spots across the hull, and it's partially in the dirt. Can't even open it like this. Stepping forward, Optimus questioned further, Sideswipe, are there any humans in the vicinity? PSH, not a one. I was pretty much riding this road all morning and I didn't see anyone pass me. So, what you wanna do, Prime? Looking to Red Alert, the Prime made his stance on the matter clear. We must retrieve the pod and revive the protoform within. With any luck, it could be an Autobot or another Maximal. Sounds like a plan to me. Red Alert concurred. Sideswipe, don't move. We'll be there with a retrieval team shortly. Gotcha. Sideswipe out. With that, the comlink clicked off and Optimus rallied his present troops. Autobots, we make for the Appalachian Mountains. Our mission is to retrieve the stasis pod as fast as we can before any Decepticons find its whereabouts. He craned his head over to his second in command. Jetfire, I would like for you to remain here. In case anything happens here in Japan, you'll be first on the scene. Understood. No problemo, Prime. Jetfire saluted dutifully. You can count on me to keep a lid on things. Excellent. Optimus then shifted his optics down toward May. And I trust that you can operate the ground bridge here, May. The pink-haired inventor saluted without hesitation. Yes sir, Optimus. I'll get ya there and back without a hitch. She set her sights down to her peers and waved. And don't worry, guys. We'll be able to catch everything from here on the Sky Spy. Itsuka was all for that idea. Sounds good to me. Good luck everyone. Thank you, Itsuka. We shall return shortly. Before long, the ground bridge was activated, with all present Autobots approaching the gate with intent. And with that, Optimus gave the word, Autobots, transform and roll out. Thank you for allowing us to ride with you this morning, Midoriya. Yeah, thanks. Izuku craned his head back to his two friends in the backseat, offering them a smile. They were on their way to Aizawa's extracurricular lesson at UA, and with Strongarm unavailable due to the current situation, it was up to him and Bumblebee to give Tenya and Shoto a lift. Of course, Iida had taken the train to Musudafu before they picked him up at the station, otherwise they would have had to head out really early. But once they had stopped by Shoto's place in the station, they were on their way. It's no problem, guys. Izuku assured. Always happy to help. Next to him, Bumblebee's holoform gave a thumbs up, peering to the two boys in his rearview. ZRKT, you're in good hands. He said in radio speak. Tenya bowed his head to the duo. We greatly appreciate your hospitality. But, might I ask, where is Jiro? I had expected you to pick her up as well. She texted me this morning, actually. Izuku revealed, though his expression was etched with uncertainty. Said that she wanted to walk to school. Walk? From her place? Shoto inquired. Isn't she all the way on the other side of the city? Izuku could only shrug. Yep, and she was pretty insistent. She didn't explain why, either, but she did say everything would make sense when she got to school. Odd. Tenya concluded. From there, the interior of the Volkswagen Beetle fell into silence as Bumblebee just kept driving, the boys uncertain where to take the conversation. Well, not entirely. There was something that was weighing on all of their minds. Something that the three of them all shared and would be something that they'd have to live with for the rest of their lives. Eventually, it was Izuku who broke the ice. So, how've you guys been holding up since, you know? Since Hosu, you mean? Tenya concluded. Clearing his throat, the Greenette affirmed, why yeah. Taking in a short breath, Shoto went first. I've been alright, for the most part. Though my dad's still pissed that he didn't find the hero killer first. A brief grin flashed over his features. He's also worried that Mirko might be in the running for the next #1 hero, but he won't admit that out loud. Izuku gave a small chuckle at that. Hehe, yeah, man, it's actually been a while since I've seen Mirko. I wonder how she's doing. He trailed off as his focus shifted toward Tenya, though. What about you, Iida? It's been quite the sobering few weeks since that incident, Midoriya. Tenya admitted, lifting the hand that had been damaged by Stain's blade. His fingers were still slightly crooked, and that way they would remain until he got the proper surgery for them. Even so, he wore a soft grin as he continued. However, the best news is that my brother is doing quite well. Even though he cannot work as a hero anymore, he's actually taken to mentoring me, so that I may properly inherit the Ingenium name. Hearing that made Izuku brighten up. That's great to hear, Iida. I'm sure you're doing him proud. Shoto nodded. Well, I did end up getting chewed out by him quite a bit for the stunt I pulled. Tenya sheepishly admitted, but thankfully, he hasn't held it against me. He recognized that I was sad and angry, and he wished he could do more to stop me from doing such a foolhardy thing in the first place. Offering a shrug, Izuku gave his 2 cents. Well, what's done is done. Not like we can go back in time to correct our mistakes. The two boys in the back hummed in agreement, and right at that moment, they came up on UA. Hi. And the moment they did, they saw a certain pink car approaching from the opposite end of the street. Well, guess RC's free today, too. Once the two Autobots parked, the boys disembarked their yellow escort, following by Ochako climbing out of RC. Hey, guys. Morning. Good morning, Uraraka. Tenya greeted with a robotic wave. Are you ready for today's lesson? As ready as I'll ever be. The brunette hung her head, her eyelids weighing down heavily. Kinda wish we didn't have to, though. I miss the days when summer was just vacation and that's it. We could all be at the water park or something. Shoto stared blankly at her. Isn't that a little cliché, though? You see that in anime all the time, it's basically a trope. The gravity user narrowed her eyes and puckered her lips sourly at him. Well, I didn't expect you to be Mr. Trope Savvy, Todoroki. Spoil sport. Sorry. RC and Bumblebee's holoforms got out of their vehicle modes and strolled up to the group, offering supportive grins. Ah, don't worry, guys, everything's gonna be great this summer. She went over and put an arm around Ochako's shoulders. Just think about it, in about a week or so, we're all gonna be out there, sitting around a campfire, having fun telling scary stories and toasting up SHMOs, she said with the most confident smile in the world. They're called s'mores, see. Ochako deadpanned. Right, of course. RC pat Ochako on the back. Anyway, it's gonna be great, hold on a nanoclick. Scanning her sights around, the intel officer noticed that someone was missing. Wasn't Kyoka supposed to be here, too? Izuku rubbed his neck with a sheepish grin. Yeah, about that, wait. Do you guys hear that? Everyone perked their ears up and, sure enough, they did hear something, music. It was primarily a keyboard interspersed with sudden chords from a guitar and beats from a drum, but eventually, the song started proper as lyrics came blasting from the parking lot entrance. On the street where you live, girls talk about their social lives. They're made of lipstick, plastic and paint. A touch of sable in their eyes. All your life all you asked is when's your daddy gonna talk to you? But you were living in another world. Trying to get your message through. No one heard a single word you said. They should have seen it in your eyes. What was going round in your head? Right as the chorus hit, from around the corner came Kyoka herself, the earphone jack user wearing Ray-Ban sunglasses while strutting to the beat of the music, which was playing from a big, blue boombox that she was holding up around on her shoulder. Ooh, she's a little runaway. Daddy's girl learned fast. All those things she couldn't say. Ooh, she's a little runaway. Needless to say, the group were left slack-jawed by her entrance, and seeing their reaction, Kyoka smirked as she lifted her shades. Hey guys, she called out, lowering the volume on her boombox. So, like my new accessory? Kyoka, Izuku uttered, his eyes darting between her and the music maker. What is? What's it look like? She pulled the radio off her shoulder, showing it off in full. It's a boombox. Ochako's gaze was full of wonder as she looked upon it. Whoa, that's so cool, Kyoka. Where'd you find it? PFF'd, you won't believe this. Setting it down, Kyoka pressed the pause button on her phone, which was connected to the boombox. I found it in an alleyway a short walk away from my house. It was just, sitting in a trash can, doing nothing. That made everyone do a double take. Wait, seriously? Shoto eyed the boombox incredulously. Who would just throw something like this away? Kyoka scoffed as she picked it back up, this time just keeping it at her side. PSH, I dunno, but their loss is my gain. Jiro, I'm not certain how I feel about this ill-gotten gain. Tenya stated, adjusting his glasses for good measure. Did you at least try asking around to see if anyone misplaced it? Course I did. Kyoka rolled her eyes. But nobody bit when I asked, so hey, finders keepers. The brazen answer made Tenya sigh, shaking his head. Well, in any case, I don't think having it on school grounds is. It's perfectly fine, Mr. Iida. The teens and Autobots all turned their heads when they heard a familiar voice, leading them to see none other than Midnight approaching them. However, she wasn't in her usual hero costume. Instead, she was in a business suit, complete with black-rimmed glasses in place of her normal red ones. Her hair was also up in a ponytail, though much like Momo's, that did little to control it. Good morning, everyone. Immediately, the students all bowed in respect to her. Good morning, Miss Midnight, they echoed. RC nodded to the somnambulist user as well. Hello, Midnight, you're looking very professional. HM, all part of today's lesson, RC. Midnight explained, sending a sultry smirk over to Bumblebee. She got the reaction she was hoping for, the blonde holoform flinching. Well, B, what do you think? Stylish enough. The Autobot Scout's radio hastily went for an easy answer, ZRKT, she's business-oriented. Ahaha, I knew you'd love it. Midnight winked, much to B's chagrin, and to RC's irritation. Ahem, aside from that, the intel officer cleared her throat, sending Midnight an inquisitive stare. What are you doing in that getup anyway? Spreading her arms out wide, Midnight reasserted, like I said, it's for today's little lesson that Mr. Aizawa planned out. Her sights moved back to her students, planting her hands firmly on her hips. After all, while you kids might be here, it's still summer vacation, so we thought we'd at least make this lesson somewhat entertaining for you. Expect to see some other teachers dressed in ways you may not be ready for. Alright, going into this, I wasn't all that excited, but now you've got me curious. Kyoka admitted, only to then lift her boombox. But you said it's cool if I have this on school grounds, right? Yes, technically. Midnight raised a finger to clarify her point. You may take it with you, but during the lesson itself, it should stay in the teacher's room. Is that clear? Kyoka bowed respectfully to her teacher. Yes, Miss Midnight. Excellent. Now, I suggest you all get going. Turning on her heel, Midnight began strutting her way toward the main school building, waving to the teens over her shoulder. You wouldn't want to keep Aizawa waiting, now would you? Yes, ma'am. The group of 5 sounded off, before Izuku turned back toward RC and Bumblebee. Well guys, we'll catch you later. RC sent the teens off with a salute. Good luck, kids. Bumblebee pumped an eager fist. ZRKT, knock it out of the park. He belted out in support. With that, the kids all began walking toward the school as well, taking to the front entrance while Midnight went in the side way. Once they were gone, however, Bumblebee sent RC a questioning glance. ZRKT, odd place for a ZRKT radio, ZRKT, ain't it? RC sighed and nodded in agreement. Exactly my thoughts, B. Seems a bit too convenient. Taking a quick search around, she saw that the coast was clear, and her holoform faded out of existence. Let's head around back and observe their lesson. Just so we can keep an eye on things. Bumblebee didn't hesitate, his own holoform disappearing, but that's when he saw someone else walking along the path toward UA in his mirrors. ZRKT, hold up. He warned RC just as she was about to back up. ZRKT, in your rear view. Huh. RC adjusted her side mirrors, and sure enough, there was Katsuki Bakugo, the explosive blonde skulking his way up to the school. Scrap, I forgot about him. She hissed in frustration. I guess that means we're stuck here. Bumblebee didn't hesitate to make his thoughts known. ZRKT, what a maroon. Yo, Deku. Stopping in the hall just before 1A's classroom, Izuku stopped and turned around, seeing Katsuki approaching him and the others. Shoto, Tenya, Kyoka and Ochako immediately went on the defensive, but Izuku held up a hand, signaling to hold back. He didn't sense any hostility in his childhood bully's voice, and he seemed fairly calm all things considered. Even so, the greenette's expression hardened, raising a skeptical brow. Kachan. He greeted plainly. The explosive blonde gave a short sigh, his red eyes locking with Izuku's green. Listen, I ain't here to start shit with you today. Much as I hate to admit it, I've got a feelin' we're all gonna be working together on whatever Aizawa's got for us. His brow furrowed seriously. But I gotta know one thing, are ya getting into some shady crap or something? His question took Izuku and his friends aback, with Tenya immediately coming to his defense. How could you imply such a thing, Bakugo? I would have thought you of all people would know Midoriya long enough to know that he of all people would not partake in such crass behavior. Yeah, what's with the sudden accusations? Kyoka placed her hands on her hips expectantly. If anything, you would probably be more suspected of crap like that thanks to your appearance alone. Honestly, ain't gonna argue that one. Bakugo shrugged off, his focus still intent on Izuku. But here's the thing, I saw you and him chatting it up with some weird dude the other day at the mall, and while I didn't hear the conversation, I did see that guy's friends come up to him afterward. And they were saying some crazy shit. Izuku and Kyoka's eyes widened immediately, while Tenya, Ochako and Shoto were left even more puzzled. Huh, Ochako tilted her head. What's he talking about, guys? Ace. Izuku concluded. He's an acquaintance of ours. His sights narrowed toward Katsuki. So you saw Ace meet up with his friends and decided to eavesdrop on them. Not on purpose. Bakugo clarified nonchalantly. Honestly, I couldn't care less about anyone you associate with. Except you, icy hot. He sneered at Todoroki. You still piss me off. Shoto wasn't too bothered by that as Katsuki continued. But when I passed by, this ace guy was talking to his pals about stuff like the fate of the multiverse or some shit like that. And he said he's been observing you. What? Tenya hollered, his arms waving robotically above his head. If that's true, then he could be part of some villainous group. Oh, this is awful. However, Kyoka quickly shot that down. No, he isn't. In fact, he's the opposite. She strode up to Bakugo, standing a mere foot away while pointing at him. For one, he's with the International Police, not a villain group. Secondly, the fate of the multiverse. Get real, that's gotta be some crap you made up. Bakugo was about to snap back at her, but surprisingly, Izuku interjected before any fight could escalate. Wait, guys, let's not get into a fight in the halls, please. Mr. Aizawa could get here at any minute. As much as the two opposing sides wanted to chew into each other, they wisely backed off, allowing Izuku to take the floor. Alright, so to start off, I will say that this whole talk about the multiverse is kinda crazy. He craned his head toward Bakugo. But I know when you're lying, Kachan. You have lots of tells that I've seen over the years, and I don't see any of them here. So you're saying you believe me? Katsuki questioned. Not entirely yet, Izuku replied. First, I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Kyoka sent Izuku an incredulous look. Wait, you're saying you want to find Ace? How do you expect to do that? Shoto nodded in agreement. Yeah, she has a point. Interpol agents aren't exactly the easiest to track down. Maybe so, but we do have Hatsume. Izuku reminded. And at this point, I'm convinced she can make anything happen if she tries hard enough. Bakugo blinked twice at the statement. Hold on, ya mean the pink-haired whack job from the support course? The girl who turned Iida into a puppet during the sports festival. The very same. Tenya grimaced. Also, if you refer to her as a whack job, again, I cannot be responsible for what I will do to you. Izuku quickly got things back on track. Enough, no fighting. But yes, let's pump the brakes on the insults. Main point is that Hatsume can probably make something that can track Ace down, maybe. He waved his hand toward the classroom door. But that can come later. Right now, we should really take our seats before Mr. Aizawa gets here. And so, they did. The students took their respective seats and waited until Aizawa had arrived, their homeroom teacher wearing his usual tired gaze. Good, you're all here. As you're aware, we'll be running this course multiple times with small groups from your class. Today, it'll be the 6 of you starting out. His brows furrowed slightly to get his point across. Just so you know, this'll be harder than a regular class, so prepare yourselves. As they listened to their teacher, some of the students were concerned at what might be in store for them. I wonder what he'll have us do, Ochako wondered to herself. Hopefully it isn't another one of those times he threatens us with expulsion if we fail. Kyoka thought with a grimace. In this master class, you'll be tasked with saving innocent bystanders, and capturing a villain. Just like that, Aizawa's words ignited a new energy into the teens, with Ochako and Izuku shouting, "We're gonna be playing heroes," but one look from their teacher made them retake their seats quickly. As I was saying, villains commit many different types of crime. You 6 will be dispatched to a scene and will need to determine what happened there. Whether or not a villain was actually at fault. Whether or not you should fight. We will be judging your ability to assess the situation as well as how well you defuse it. Raising a hand, Aizawa proceeded to introduce his help for the day. Now, welcome your instructors. All of a sudden, the rear door to the classroom slammed open, and in an instant, none other than All Might was standing at the back. Ahahaha, I am here, sneaking through the back door, he proclaimed as he flexed his muscles. Wow, All Might, you're teaching us today, Izuku exclaimed, unable to contain his excitement. And he's looking super pumped today. Ochako added, Yowza. As All Might gave another joyous laugh, Aizawa continued on as more teachers entered from the front door. He's not the only one. Smintos, Midnight and Snipe will all be assisting. Sure enough, the 3 aforementioned heroes all stood side by side at the chalkboard, with Midnight giving the class a little wink. They'll be acting as special trainers. Now go suit up and let's get started. Just as the class were about to do so, Aizawa raised a finger to add something. Oh, And one more thing, keep in mind that there's construction going on at ground beta, where this exercise will be happening. So please, mind the equipment and do not go beyond the designated zone. Aside from that, head there and we'll begin. As the teens got changed, the teacher's room was left in complete and utter silence, with nary a soul around. The only teachers at the school were currently on their way to the training ground, and that was the opportunity that a certain boombox was waiting for. The front tape deck opened up and it spoke, Ravage, Laserbeak, Rumble, Eject. One by one, several cassette tapes deployed from the radio, and they all transformed before landing on the floor. Ravage growled as he scanned his surroundings, while Laserbeak flew around and landed on the nearby cabinet. Rumble, meanwhile, stretched his arms out and let out a satisfied, "Aw, man," shrinking down that much as killer on the joints. He craned his head around, seeing that no one was there with them. "So, what's the plan, boss?" "The current operation is observation," Soundwave clarified, remaining in his boombox mode. "You three will be tailing the students, and I want you to report back to me on exactly what it is they're doing." "Okay, and what'll you be doing stuck in air?" "I will be downloading as much data from the UA servers as I can." From the back of Soundwave's radio mode, a long, cord-like extension with 4 tiny claws on the end came slithering out and clamped onto one of the computers, connecting directly into UA's mainframe. "With information like this at my fingertips, I can find out everything there is to know about this place, its students and teachers, and any other useful information pertaining to this world." That made Rumble smirk, folding his arms across his chest. "Hee hee, always one step ahead, ain't ya, boss?" "Alright, we'll head out, but where are they headed?" Training ground beta. Within the glass of Soundwave's tape drawer, an image popped up, displaying an oddly square-shaped city. "Due north of here, you can't miss it." Laserbeak and Ravage nodded affirmably while Rumble gave a thumbs up. "Gotcha. And, I'm guessing the other guys'll bring ya to us once you're done." "Correct. Now, let's, Beep 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 beep. All of a sudden, Soundwave's tape drawer began flashing red, an incoming transmission taking him by surprise. However, he was certain that he knew exactly who this was, so he picked up without hesitation. "This is Soundwave, come in." "Soundwave, this is Scrapper, do you copy?" Sure enough, he was right. "Yes, Scrapper. What's your status?" A frustrated sigh came from the other end. Well, the Autobot vessel we were in pursuit of unfortunately gave us the slip. We lost them through the asteroid belt and we didn't want to stray too far from the planet, so." "Understood," Soundwave said, though he didn't seem too bothered. "Not to worry. One escaped vessel won't make much of a difference. I take it you're on your way now." "Yes. In fact, we're about to make planet fall, and we've detected your location on an island nation. Do you wish for us to meet up with you there?" Soundwave was about to deny the request, but then an idea struck him. This would make for the perfect distraction while the other Decepticons set up their attack on Mission City. If we can time this right, the Autobots would have no choice but to prioritize their human allies first, he resolved before finally replying to Scrapper. "Yes, but not directly. I'm sending you landing coordinates, Scrapper. You and your team will land there and will begin an attack immediately. Am I clear?" "Of course, Soundwave. We hope to see you soon." Scrapper out. Once the transmission ended, Rumble asked, "So, we still headed to ground beta?" "Yes, and now you'll have backup, too," Soundwave said with anticipation. "Now, let's begin." A little while later, the teens put on their hero costumes and met up with Aizawa, who escorted them to their testing zone within ground beta. Sure enough, there was a lot of construction equipment being actively used, including a crane, a dump truck, a cement mixer, a front loader, a bulldozer and even an excavator. "Lots of stuff going on here," Shoto commented. "Yes, we've been planning some renovations to ground beta," Aizawa explained. "Renovations that Smintos can't really do by himself, so we've brought in some extra help. But enough about that, we're here." The group entered an alleyway that led out to the main street, where they saw a bunch of cardboard cutouts of police officers surrounding a jewelry store. "Gee, I wonder where the crime's being committed," Kyoka asked sarcastically. Taking to the back of the alley, Aizawa began updating them on the crime. "I'll brief you on the situation. There's been an attack in this jewelry store. The employees and customers have been taken hostage and are barricaded inside. The number of villains and bystanders is unknown. As pro-heroes, you've been asked by the police to intervene and resolve this incident to the best of your abilities. Tenya raised his hand the second Aizawa stopped speaking. Excuse me, Mr. Aizawa. The teachers, are they playing the roles of hostages or vil? I won't be answering questions. Aizawa asserted bluntly. Verify the situation on your own and act accordingly. Understood. Yes, sir. The students sounded off. With that, let the capture training begin. On that note, a loud buzzer went off through the training ground, signaling the start of the exercise. Okay, so what's our first move? Tenya inquired. Izuku knew exactly what that entailed. That's easy. First, we need to figure out how many villains and hostages there are. He peered across the jewelry store front, seeing that the building was covered with large windows. But they'll see us coming a mile away if we just stroll up. We need a covert way of approaching this. I could go up, Kyoka suggested, wiggling her jacks for emphasis. With my stealth training and my quirk, I could get info on them pretty easy. Izuku snapped his fingers and agreed instantly. Hey yeah, that's. Hold on. Just then, Bakugo piped up, after having scratched his hair impatiently. That might sound good at first, but what if the bad guys have the hostages gagged? Ya wouldn't be able to hear 'em, ears. The comment made everyone do a double take, but it was a point that Kyoka begrudgingly admitted was true. Damn it, he's right. My hearing's good, but if the villains have the hostages gagged, that's a problem. Shoto peered out toward the street, trying to come up with a different approach. Then we'll need to think of something else. Uraraka, you should head up. Bakugo said without hesitation, once again taking the others aback. Me. Ochako pointed to herself. By myself. If we all run in at once, the villains will notice us. Pointing up toward the ledge above the jewelry store entrance, Katsuki explained, but you can float up to that window and not get caught. It's practically a blind spot. Realizing what he said was true, Ochako nodded. Yeah, you're right. I'm on it. Kyoka, however, had her own concerns. You sure? It could be dangerous. What if the villains decide to look up for some reason? I think I can cover that. Shoto piped up, pulling out his cell phone and a number. I was provided the jewelry store's number by, the emergency services. That earned a thumbs up from Aizawa before he entered the number onto his phone, calling into the store. After a few rings, it was eventually picked up. Who is this? The fuzz. Came a distinct voice from the other end. Shoto brought his hand over the phone. All Might's pretending to be the criminal, he whispered before speaking to the villain proper. I'm a pro-hero. And you are. Pro-SHMO, I'm not impressed. As the phone conversation continued, Izuku helped Ochako prep for her stealthy investigation. Tell us how many villains on your right hand and how many hostages on your left. The greenette laid out, to which the gravity user nodded. Yeah, okay. Holding her breath, Ochako cupped her hands together, touching her fingertips to her palms to activate her quirk on herself. Now that she was floating, Izuku gave the brunette a gentle shove upwards toward the ledge above the store's front entrance, allowing her to peer inside. There, she saw Midnight, Snipe and Smintos all bound and gagged, each teacher dressed up in a different fancy outfit. Meanwhile, All Might was wearing an all-blue suit with green shoulder pads that had long spikes on them. He also wore a gas mask with 6 curved spikes jutting out from the top, with half the mask in silver while the other half was orange. Back with Shoto, he was currently trying to negotiate with the villain. Release the hostages and we'll consider your demands. I only have one demand. All Might said defiantly. I want the cops and the heroes to get the hell out of here. If you don't leave, I guarantee I'll slice up these hostages. Very well. But first, I need information on who you've got inside. Is anyone hurt? Someone will be if you don't stop taking your sweet time. Hurry up and get lost, damn it. Izuku had to admit, All Might knew how to make a convincing villain. The way he roared into the phone made even him a bit scared. However, he knew he had to focus on the task at hand, seeing Ochako hold up one finger on her right hand and 3 on her left. 1 villain, 3 hostages. He relayed to the others. Nice, Uraraka. Iida whispered, robotically motioning back to her. Stay there, wait for us. Ochako nodded back, but then she put her arms up in an "oh" shape over her head, and Izuku knew exactly what that meant. "Quick, hide," he whispered harshly. "It's all I mean, the bad guy." Sure enough, the villain could be clearly seen on the other side of the glass door, craning his head around. "He's checking to make sure everyone's gone," Shoto deduced, the phone conversation having ended. "In that case, we need to stay hidden. We can't put those hostages in danger," Kyoka stated, unaware that a certain ashen blonde was growing impatient. "How do we help them, then?" Tenya inquired. "Think there could be a back way inside." At that point, Bakugo shot up from his seated position, raising his arms up and shouting, "Grah! This is stupid." The team all rounded on him, afraid of what he might do. "Keikaku-chan, let's not fly off the handle. Please. You're planning to charge straight in, aren't you?" Shoto questioned. "Obviously," Katsuki affirmed, walking toward the edge of the alleyway. "I'll fire off a bunch of explosions and take down the villain. You guys can save the hostages or wait, huh?" All of a sudden, an odd noise caught Bakugo's attention, along with Kyoka and the others. It felt like their ears collectively popped, and it caused the earphone jack user to snap her head up. Wait, did you guys just, ah. Kyoka let out a shriek the moment she saw them, 6 huge meteors streaking across the clear blue sky, leaving a trail of smoke and fire behind them, but the most concerning thing about them was how close to the ground they were. And when it became apparent that their collision was all but imminent, Aizawa made a snap decision. "The lesson is over," he hollered, sprinting out to the street to lash his scarf out to grab Ochako out of the air. The gravity user was hastily pulled back and Aizawa grabbed her, forcing her back into the alley. "Hit the dirt." The teens only had seconds to comply, diving behind the nearest dumpster. And then, *Crockett THOOM, ... Out at the parking lot, RC and Bumblebee were left chilled to their sparks. The moment they had seen the meteors go crashing down behind UA, both of them had thrown caution to the wind and transformed, sprinting as fast as they could behind the school. "Oh no, 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 no," RC screamed as she witnessed the meteors crash land. "Mother fragger, I knew it." Her hand whipped up to her helm, activating her comlink, RC to base, code red. "We have Decepticons landing at UA, I repeat, DECEPTICONS are at UA. Back inside the school itself, Soundwave was about halfway done downloading the information he required, and the very second the school shook, he knew that his plan was all going accordingly. Excellent. He activated his own comlink, contacting his Minicons. Rumble, awaiting confirmation. "I've made visual contact, boss." Rumble replied. "Scrapper and his boys are, Aaron, the shrimps are hidin' out. What's our next move?" "A change in operation," Soundwave ordered. "Switch from observation to confrontation." Everything had happened so fast that Izuku and the others were left disoriented and in a state of shock, with many of the teens breathing hard and leaning against one another for support. Bakugo and Shoto had kept their hands firm on the dumpster so it could provide them cover, while Tenya, Ochako, Izuku and Kyoka were huddled together. Aizawa, meanwhile, was on the lookout on top of the dumpster, keeping his eyes peeled for any enemies. But he also was busy trying to make contact with the other teachers. "All Might, come in. Are you alright?" "Ha, Aizawa, yes, we're fine." All Might answered. "I got us all out of there the moment it happened, but what was that?" Aizawa's brow furrowed. "I can only take one guess." "Right. Take the kids and get out of here. I'll hold them off as best I can until..." Clang. Ow. All of a sudden, something knocked Aizawa off the top of the dumpster, having appeared out of the smoke without warning. The teens all gasped, seeing him tumble away while his phone was knocked out of his hand. Aizawa. Aiza. Pew pew pew. The phone was promptly blown up from laser blasts that appeared out of the sky, which was followed by a robotic condor diving down in front of the teens, letting out a high-pitched screech. Kya! The teens screamed and stood up, backing away from the beast. What the hell? Bakugo exclaimed. "What is, ga?" But just then, something from behind took both him and Shoto down. And the next time the boys looked up, he was staring into the gleaming, yellow optics of a robotic panther, pinning them under its paws while it growled in their faces. RRRRAWRAWR. No. Izuku went to help the duo, ignoring his friend's attempt to get him to stay put. Todoroki. Kaka. Bam asterisk, ACH. He wouldn't get the chance to reach them, though, as he was instantly struck in the back by what felt like a piledriver, taking him down from above and stomping on him to keep him down. Ah. Wah. Ah. When he peered up, he saw that he was being pinned by a familiar bot in a different color scheme. Hee, well, would y'all look at this, boys. The Minicon snickered. Looks like we got us some wannabe heroes. Frenzy. Izuku uttered. Ah, you're confusing me for my brother. The blue bot shook his head, clicking his metallic tongue. Cute, real cute. It's a common mistake, but nah, I ain't Frenzy. He reached down, grabbing Izuku by the back of his head. Tumblin' wit, rumble, kid. And, these are my pals, Ravage and Laserbeak. The animalistic Minicons roared in response as Rumble picked Izuku up, his grip tightening in the process. And, guess what? Now that we've cracked the shell, it's time we break the nuts inside. Chapter 95, Sound and Fury. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Optimus Prime and his team of Autobots were hard at work excavating the recently found Stasis pod, and it proved to be more arduous than they initially thought. Upon arrival, it was made very clear that the pod had been unearthed by a recent tectonic shift, as not only was it in a massive mound of dirt, but many massive stones and boulders were keeping it lodged in the ground. Thankfully, it still seemed intact aside from all of the rust and a few dents in its casing. Hovering around the work zone, the Sky Spy was relaying everything it saw back to base, where May, Jetfire and the 1B students were watching intently. So Red, how long do you think this pod's been underground? Asked the pink-haired inventor. Hard to say, Red replied, using his laser scalpel to carefully blast away rocks while the others dug through by hand. It must have made a safe planet fall, but for some reason, it just never awoke, he deduced. Which is strange, Eraser said with a furrowed brow. I vaguely remember that my pod at least tried to scan a compatible alternate mode for me before all of the errors happened. Flare-Up pursed her lips together, not wanting to jump to conclusions, but her processor worked against her on that one. I just hope the protoform in there is alright, she muttered. Next to her, Sideswipe was using his piledrivers to break off chunks of rock, but he was quick to pause and offer her some comfort. Hey, come on, Flare. Let's not think like that. The bot in this pod wouldn't want us to be down about what ifs, would they? No, I suppose not. She offered a small grin to her friend. Thanks, Sides. Peering down, Flare-Up watched as Red Alert's Minicon continued to move load after load of rocks, his small crane mode belying his actual strength. Keep it going, Longarm. She encouraged with a slightly forced smile. Oh, I am, Longarm assured, assuming robot mode. But I think we're just about good here. All we need is one last big pull. Halting his progress, Optimus looked toward Grimlock and Roadbuster. You heard him, Autobots. All together now. The Dinobot and the Wrecker nodded in unison before grabbing either side of the pod, with Optimus himself grasping the front of it. On my count. 1, 2, 3. With an exerted grunt, the trio of powerful Autobots successfully plucked the pod from the earth, gently placing it onto its back. Flare Up, Eraser and Longarm all applauded their efforts. Woohoo! Nice work. The speedster cheered. Now let's crack, or open. Not yet. Red Alert asserted with a wag of his finger. First, I need to inspect the pod's systems. Approaching the side of the pod, Red pressed down on the panel hiding the control console, and while it was slow going and scraped a little bit, eventually, it managed to flip open, and nothing happened. The screen didn't light up, no schematics or spark rate monitors showed up. Nothing. Just a blank, black screen. Oh no. Oh no. Grimlock leaned down in concern. What do you mean, oh no? Get the pod open, now. Red's orders were quickly complied with as Grim grabbed the top of the pod and pulled, breaking the lock and tearing the entire thing off. And what the Autobots saw next made their sparks collectively fall. Flare-Up in particular was so stricken that she fell to her knees. Her worst fear had come true. It's blank. The Sky Spy floated up above the pod, allowing it to get a better view. And what it saw was a harrowing sight for the teens and the remaining Autobot back at base. Damn it, Jetfire uttered, audibly crestfallen. We were too late. Wait, what do you mean it's blank? Setsuna suddenly asked. It means that the protoform's spark has long since passed on. Roadbuster answered, the wrecker removing his helm to place it against his chest mournfully. In the process, though, he revealed that his head underneath was bald. Such a damn shame. Back at the base, the teens all hung their heads solemnly at the news, as did Jetfire. The aerial commander kicked a nearby box in frustration. Blast! If only we had found this sooner. He shouted, punching the nearest wall. So, there's really no way to recover that bot's spark? Tetsu asked. Peering over his shoulder, Jetfire sighed and shook his head, trying to calm himself down. No, not unless you can transcend time and space to get into the well of all sparks. He turned back around to face the children. But even then, it's said that, all or one, there, so finding this bot's spark would be like finding a needle in a stack of energon cubes. So, what do we do about this? Itsuka questioned, craning her head back to the screen. Well, the pod could still have its uses. Red Alert answered. We can bring it back to base and I'll see what components are salvageable. Maybe I can even get the entire thing back online with enough time, pertaining enough can be recovered. But as for the protoform itself, I'm hesitant on what can be done with it. Abara tilted her head curiously. And why is that? Just then, Longarm chimed in, offering his 2 cents. Protomatter is an invaluable resource. While its main purpose is to form protoforms, it's able to aid in the repair of any living Cybertronian. It's been used in many life-saving surgeries throughout the war. He paused a moment, his tone becoming a bit more dejected. The problem is, well, this protomatter was already used to make a protoform. It was meant for a new Cybertronian, and repurposing it can be seen as taboo. There was a long, awkward silence among the group. It didn't take them long to realize the connotations behind what he said. Oh, damn, Tetsu uttered. It's not like you can just keep it either, right? You are correct, Tetsu. Optimus replied. We must make the protoform's final arrangements in the most humane way possible. May, be ready to open the ground bridge. We'll be bringing the pod through in BWAAM. All of a sudden, the base's emergency alarm began to blare throughout the facility, causing the teens to flinch and for Jetfire to go on high alert. Making his way toward the main console, it didn't take him long to find out what was going on. Another emergency transmission, from RC. All of the kids did a double take at that. Wait, I thought RC and Bumblebee were taking muscles and the others to school today for Aizawa's lesson thingy. May said, her eyes widening in fear. What do you mean it's from her? Wordlessly, Jetfire put the call through, and the first thing he heard sent a chill to his very core. RC to base, code red. We have Decepticons landing at UA, I repeat, Decepticons are at UA. The room collectively gasped as Jetfire answered. RC, this is Jetfire. Hang on, I'm patching the comm through to Optimus. With a few button presses, he connected the call to the Sky Spy's speakers, allowing Optimus and the others to listen in. Prime, you listening? I am, Prime stated, his voice laced with urgency. Go ahead, RC. RC didn't waste a moment complying. B and I just saw 6 asteroids go crashing down behind UA into one of the training facilities, all with Decepticon signals. B, but why would they be touching down at UA? Setsuna stammered, her mind racing a mile a minute. If they're coming from space, they couldn't know that Midoriya and the others are there, right? And the cons haven't even tried attacking UA before either. Itsuka added. Why now of all times? I'm afraid I might know the answer to that. RC continued. This morning, Kyoka brought in a boombox that she had found yesterday, seemingly abandoned in an alleyway. It didn't have an energy signature to it, but I'm afraid it could have been a Decepticon spy in disguise. Roadbuster spoke up next with a question. A boombox? Ya mean she found a fraggin' gun just sittin' in an alley? Tetsu rolled his eyes, clarifying, no, not that kinda boombox. A boombox is a big radio that plays music. He set his sights back up to Jetfire. You think she could have come across a Decepticon Minicon or something? Maybe, but I've got a feelin' something bigger's at play here. Jetfire stepped away from the console, ready to take off at any moment. Prime, I'm headed to the school. Whoever those 6 cons are, they gotta be stopped, ASAP. Agreed, go now, Jetfire. Prime concurred urgently. In May, get the ground bridge fired up, now. We must intercept these Decepticons. And RC. The intelligence officer replied instantly. Yes, Optimus. You and B protect those children. I know that All Might is there, so you will not be without aid. Just hold them off until Jetfire and the rest of us can get there, and be on the lookout for that boombox. Understood. Yes, sir. RC out. With that, the transmission was cut and Jetfire spun around toward the exit, leaving the teens behind with the street action Minicons. Stay put, he stated firmly. The 1B students and the Minicons gave him a collective salute, while May simply nodded. Good luck, and please, keep my friends safe. Returning the nod, Jetfire sprinted out the front door and transformed, soaring into the skies and blasting off toward UA as fast as his thrusters could take him. As she continued on getting the ground bridge fired up, though, May closed her eyes, saying a silent prayer to herself. Please, 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 no one die. Asterisk Crockett THOOM. Back at UA, training ground beta had just been rocked by 6 massive asteroids, sending a huge wave of dust and debris across the entire fake town as buildings crumbled around the impact zone. Upon closer inspection, however, the meteors were all actually metal pods, which were charred, dented and even in some cases completely wrecked upon striking the earth. However, all of their occupants were completely fine, if a bit half buried in the ground. Slowly but surely, though, they began to emerge. The first one to stand was a tall, strapping bot with a blocky torso, mostly purple with a silver chest plate, decked out with black and red details. He also had silver thighs, but his main color was a bright, vibrant green, mostly on his back, arms and lower legs. His shoulders and calves were each home to a big, black metal tire, and there was a big, wide bucket perched right behind his head. Said head was mostly black with a flat top, his silver forehead smoothly sloping forward and leading into his bright, red visor. He wore a standard silver faceplate, rendering him expressionless, and rather threatening. The Decepticon symbol was in the center of his chest. Ah, terra firma. He spoke in a light, gravelly voice, scanning his surroundings to see the utter devastation their fall had brought to the area. All units, report. Following him next was another bot, though he was mostly all green aside from his purple hands. He had a wedge-shaped chest with some red detailing surrounding the Decepticon symbol he wore. His legs were rather lanky, and were outfitted with bright green treads as well, right down to his feet. Like his compatriot, he had a black, flat-topped head, though his helm had more silver details compared to him. And unlike the first one, he didn't wear a faceplate, though he still had a visor. Graw, Bonecrusher herein, still kickin', scrapper. He grumbled, sneering as he too took a gander at his surroundings. Ah, so this is the ball of dust that the Autobots are on. Bah, I hate it already. Oh, you hate everything, Bonecrusher. A rather low, posh voice piped up from behind, causing the duo to look over and see 2 more figures approaching out from the cloud of dust. The bot in the lead was, again, mostly green with a purple torso and waist, with his thighs, shins and feet being bright silver. And while he had a tire on each leg, he had 2 tires on each bicep. Just like his teammates, his helm had a flat top, though his was mostly black and angular. And just like Bonecrusher, he had a visor and exposed mouth. Though his most noticeable feature was definitely the big, green crane apparatus on his back. His Decepticon insignia was on his abdomen. He turned towards Scrapper and saluted. Hook, present and accounted for. With mighty footsteps, the larger bot came striding out from the cloud of dust, revealing just how imposing he was. He might have only been a head taller than his teammates, but the sheer size of him was enough to make him seem even bigger. He had a wide barrel chest, where the grille and headlights of his alt mode were. On his right shoulder was a smokestack while his left held his alt mode canopy. Like Bonecrusher, he had very little purple on him, though he made up for that with big, heavy arms covered in black plating. His thick legs had red kneecaps as well, and his bullet-shaped head was entirely silver with a red visor and mouth plate. And, emblazoned over his grille like a hood ornament, was the Decepticon symbol. Long haul, too, the brutish bot added in a deep, gruff voice. Good. Scrapper peered over to the remaining crash sites, where their remaining 2 team members were staggering out from their ruined pods. Mixmaster, Scavenger, what's your status? A nefarious cackle was the reply that Scrapper got, and from out of the dust came a Decepticon that looked like he had a hood over his head. Though in reality, it was actually a dual gun emplacement, and on his back was a purple mixing drum that was connected right to it. His chest, waist and thighs were all similarly purple, while, of course, the rest of him was the same bright green. Like Hook, he had 2 tires on each bicep and 1 on each leg. And while his Decepticon symbol was also on his stomach, his black helm actually somewhat resembled the insignia already, right down to the fact that he was the only one of them to have 2 optics. He wore a manic grin as he kept cackling away. Hey, oh, you don't gotta worry about us, Scrapper. Mixmaster slammed a fist to his chest. It'll take more than a planetary impact to do us in. Ain't that right, Scavenger? Stumbling his way out of the rubble came the final con, his upper half being mostly green while his lower half was all purple. Just like Bonecrusher, Scavenger had tread legs and a flat-topped head, though that's where their similarities ended. His visor was a different shape, resembling a pair of sunglasses, and he had a silver faceplate that was oddly square-shaped. On each side of his head were a set of intakes as well. The center of his chest was circular and ridged toward the top before smoothing out at the abdomen, where his Decepticon insignia was. Finally, folded up on his back was a big shovel apparatus, indicating what he turned into. Scavenger's shoulders slumped as he finally met up with his team. Yeah, I suppose. But by Primus, would y'all look at this pathetic ball of dirt. The Autobots are seriously on this Primus forsaken rock. I know, right. Hook sneered in disgust, kneeling down to examine the wreckage they had caused. And their structures are absolutely abysmal. I mean, glass and concrete. Never have I seen architecture so foul. So generic. Scrapper huffed in agreement. HMPH, all of this is nothing compared to what we can build, once we tear down this whole planet, of course. He craned his head around before spotting something off in the distance. What's that? Striding forward, Scrapper approached a set of 6 vehicles that they had just narrowly avoided hitting, all of which appeared similar to their own. Well, at least they seemed to have gotten the idea of what helps in construction, heavy machinery. I think I remember something about Soundwave saying we had to adopt some disguises when we get to this dust ball. Scavenger stated. Think these'll do. They'll have to. Scrapper resolved, his scanners landing upon the Caterpillar CAT-966C front loader in front of him. Constructicons, scan a vehicle mode and transform. WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. Of course, Scrapper went first, falling onto his stomach as his head retracting into his chest and the bucket on his back folded forward over his shoulders. His arms tucked in at his sides as his hands retracted into his forearms, while his legs folded up to form the rear of the front loader. Finally, the canopy of the vehicle rotated up as a smokestack emerged from the rear, completing the transformation. Next up was Mixmaster, who was eyeing a Volvo F12 cement mixer with nefarious intent. Oh, I can already tell I'm gonna make some nasty concoctions with this drum, he giggled while rubbing his hands together. Once he scanned the vehicle, his arms tucked in close to his body and he fell forward, the mixing drum on his back already changing to resemble the more earthen one. His legs, meanwhile, spun around and shifted in, forming the entire cab of the truck. Grr, Bonecrusher growled, spotting the Caterpillar D9G bulldozer that was close by. I don't like it, that earned him an annoyed hum from Scrapper, who slammed his bucket on the ground authoritatively. Ultimately, the angry Constructicon relented. But if I gotta, then fine. He scanned the vehicle and transformed, his chest folding down to form the bulldozer's front shovel. His legs split down the center of his waist, revealing the grill of the machine while forming the treads. His head tucked into his body and his arms folded up over them, while the hood at the back rotated over to form the canopy of the vehicle. My word, you are just never happy, are you, my friend? Hook commented as he approached a Nissan Diesel K160B truck crane. He immediately noted the long apparatus at the back, which he was all too happy to appropriate for himself. Yes, this will do nicely. He scanned the vehicle and fell to his stomach, his arms tucking in while his backpack shifted over his head to form the crane part at the back. His legs then collapsed in on themselves, forming the front of the truck. Once in vehicle mode, Hook tested his new tool, by extending it as high as it could reach. Ah, yes, magnificent. Scavenger shook his head and waved off his comrade's shenanigans. Would ya quit showing off, man? Making us all look inadequate. He then spotted a Komatsu PC 200-1 excavator, and he could tell that this would be the vehicle that'd suit him best. HMPH, I'll show him. Who needs lifting when you can dig in? He scanned his new alt mode and his arms shifted into his torso, forming the sides while his legs splayed upward to form the treads. His head tucked in and the shovel extended out while the canopy appeared on his back, completing the transformation. Oh yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. The only one left to scan something was Long Haul, and he seemed incredibly hesitant. The only vehicle that could fit him, and consequently, the only one left, was a Hitachi DH321 dump truck, and just the sight of it was enough to leave him disgusted. Do I really gotta? Yes, Long Haul, Scrapper asserted. It's literally your specialty, my friend. Hook insisted as well. But Long Haul wasn't having it. You mean my job, Hook. And, it's a job that sucks. He pointed right at the dump truck. I can already tell, this thing's just gonna give me more things to lug around. Move this, move that. Bad enough I've gotta pull that whole damn rig we use, now I'm gonna be moving more stuff. Do ya see anything else around in the immediate area, Hall? Scavenger retorted. Yeah, come on, Mixmaster encouraged, and also belittled. Quit being such a whiny protoform and just scan the big dumpy already. He. Long Haul's fists tightened, knowing that he wasn't going to win this argument. Fine. But you call it a big dumpy again and I won't be responsible for what happens. Scanning the dump truck, Long Haul's head retracted into his chest before it shifted up, allowing his arms to tuck in underneath to form part of the undercarriage. Meanwhile, at the back, his legs bent in and shifted up, forming the huge bucket at the back. He landed on the ground with a big thud before a big, green trailer appeared behind him from his POD's crash site, one that had a few big, purple weapons attached to it along with matching swept back wings on the sides, as well as some black missile pods toward the back. There, happy now? Yes, thank you, Scrapper answered. Now, for the next step, he activated his comlink, reporting into his commanding officer. Soundwave, we've made planet fall and have acquired adequate alternate modes. What is our next course of action? Back inside the main building, Soundwave was close to finishing his download. Soon, all the information on UA's server network would be at his fingertips. Excellent, Scrapper, he replied. Your next move is to converge on the human beings within your area, and destroy them. They are the Autobots' allies, and their destruction shall ensure a decline in their morale. Leaving us to easily pick them off from there. Understood. Shall we devastate them, then? Not yet. Soundwave reserved, not wanting to play all of his cards at once. Keep in mind, the Mission City operation is still underway. You all will have plenty of opportunities to wreak havoc then. For now, show them what you can do, as individuals. Of course. Scrapper out. Sha boom. All of a sudden, a massive sonic boom blasted through the sound barrier, blowing glass through the windows and, unfortunately for Soundwave, knocking him down from his perch. He was disconnected from the computer in the process and, to add insult to injury, the power was knocked out. No. The communications specialist couldn't believe it. He had just passed the 90% threshold of his download, and he was certain that there were still so many secrets left untapped. He waited for a few moments, hoping that the lights and systems would turn back on, but alas, they did not. Soundwave, come in, Scrapper called out. What was that? Are you injured? With an aggravated sigh, Soundwave relayed, No, I am unharmed, but you may have company approaching. I can only assume that was an Autobot that just blew past me. Do you require an evac? The boombox vehemently denied the request. No, I have enough help with me already. Simply continue your mission, and be ready for any Autobot interference. Soundwave out. With that, Soundwave collected himself, beginning the next phase of his plan. Luckily, he had landed face up, and that allowed his tape deck to open freely. Beastbox, Squawk Talk, eject. From out of the drawer launched 2 new tapes, one purple, one teal green. The former unfurled into a small gorilla Minicon with large arms and a big underbite, its red optics gleaming as it beat its chest and grunted, "Ooh. Ooh, ooh." The latter, meanwhile, folded out into an eagle with long, feathery wings, its head being slightly smaller than Laserbeak's. He landed on the nearest chair and peered down to his master. "Eark, you called, boss," Squawktalk screeched. "It's time to reconvene with the others," Soundwave commanded. "If you'd be so kind as to pick me up." "Ooh, ooh, I'll do it." Beastbox beat his chest with enthusiasm before knuckle-dragging his way to his master. He picked Soundwave up, hoisting him over his shoulder. "Ooh, ooh, where to, boss?" "Training ground beta," Soundwave answered. "It's time to show these humans just who they're messing with." Back at said training ground, things were not going well. Not only were Izuku and his friends all pinned down, but now, the Decepticons were in full view of his middle school bully, and he was not taking it well. "Gah, damn it, Deku, what the hell?" Bakugo belted out, Ravage still snarling in his face while keeping him pinned to the ground. "I thought you said you weren't getting into anything shady." Truthfully, Izuku wasn't sure what to say to that. He couldn't deny anything at this point. The secret was now out to the one person who he was hoping would never find out about it, at least, not until the summer training camp. Well, funny story about that." "Oh, do tell," Katsuki grumbled. "I'm sure it's fucking hilarious." To punctuate that last word, he managed to wriggle his arm up and unleash his quirk upon Ravage, blowing the Pantherine Minicon off of him and Shoto. But he was then astonished to see that, aside from being briefly disoriented, Ravage was completely fine. The catbot glared daggers and snarled at him, which made Bakugo get to his feet quicker. What the, gah. The ashen blonde had to duck as the guns on Ravage's hips opened fire, unleashing a barrage of lasers at him. However, Shoto was quick to react, unleashing a wave of ice to block the blasts and allow Katsuki to stand up. "Bakugo, are you alright? I don't need your damn help, icy hot." Shooting himself up and over the ice wall, Bakugo cupped his right hand against his open left palm, prepping for another attack. "Let's see how this cat likes my newest move. AP shot." Pow 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 pow. The explosion user proceeded to send down a bombardment of concentrated blasts at the Minicon, and while Ravage was able to dodge most of them, the concussive force at which they hit the ground still managed to throw him off a bit. And that's where Laserbeak came in. Taking his concentration off of Tenya, Aizawa and the girls, he flew up and shot a small missile at Bakugo from his forehead, aiming directly at the middle of his chest. "Kachan!" Izuku shouted. "Watch out!" Summoning all his strength with full cowling, Izuku managed to throw Rumble off of him, a move which took the blue bot by surprise. Then, with a mighty leap, the greenette flew up and tackled his bully out of the way, resulting in the missile blowing up the nearest wall instead. As the two boys tumbled across the ground, Bakugo what came naturally, belittled Izuku for his help. "For God's sake, Deku, how many times I gotta tell ya before ya get it through your head? I do not need your help." "Yes, you do." Izuku snapped back, his voice exceeding Katsuki's volume for once as he boldly lashed his hand out and grabbed the blonde by his collar. "I'm the one who has the most experience with these things, so you're going to follow my lead here, am I clear? Get your hands off of me." Wrenching himself free, Bakugo glowered at his once friend. "Just where do you get off ordering me around? And what the fuck is even going on here in the first, bam asterisk, ah." Without any warning whatsoever, Izuku had just blindsided Katsuki with a blink and you'll miss it right hook to the jaw, sending him sprawling to the ground. How in the, URK? Once more, Izuku was on Katsuki, his glare unrelenting as he made his case known. "You listen to me and you listen good right now, Kachan. Whether you like it or not, because I certainly don't, you've just been dragged into a war. And unless you put your stupid ego aside, your chances of getting out of this thing alive are seriously at, ow." But before he could even finish his speech, Rumble came in again and delivered a hard kick to his stomach, which he followed up by doing the same to Bakugo as well. "No, Izuku." Kyoko went to sprint over and help, but Laserbeak came flying back around, screeching at her whilst aiming his guns at their group once more. In the meantime, Ravage was taking his aim at Shoto, blasting at him to make sure he didn't have time to concentrate on his quirk. How? Kyoka uttered. How did this happen? As Rumble stomped down on Izuku's chest, he let out a snicker as he peered back to the earphone jack user. Hee. Oh, I can't let ya in on that secret yet, kid. But trust me, you're gonna love, huh? Just then, his audio receptors perked up when he heard something off in the distance. A sonic boom, along with breaking glass. What the frag was? Asterisk VRRRRRRRMM. Asterisk SCREEEEECH. Huh? Ah. Rumble barely had time to turn his head as a loud engine came approaching from the opposite direction. And the moment they heard screeching tires was followed by a certain yellow Volkswagen Beetle came barreling down through the alleyway at top speed. Everyone was immediately elated, except for Bakugo, who was just confused. What the WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT asterisk FUUUUU crash all at once. Katsuki had experienced one of the craziest roller coasters he had ever been on. At first, bafflement that Brian of all people had come in, thinking he could play hero. And then, astonishment at the sight of the Beetle transforming into a robot itself. And of course, apprehension as it continued charging at them before then ultimately realizing that it wasn't attacking them, but rather Rumble and the others. The ashen blonde stared with widened eyes as Bumblebee fought off the three Minicons all at once, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. Wah, what is? ZRKT, you picked the wrong house, fool. Bumblebee belted out through his radio as he punched and kicked Rumble and Ravage away from him. Laserbeak attempted to dive bomb him with laser fire from above, but Beak proved to be quick on his feet and began bounding between the walls up to the robotic condor. He reached out and caught Laserbeak by the leg, bringing him down to the pavement with a heavy slam. Catching his break, Izuku beamed widely in relief, seeing his friend come to their rescue. Nice work, B. Seeing his enemies incapacitated for the moment, the yellow bot spun on his heel and sprinted toward Izuku. ZRKT, are you alright, ZRKT, my friend? Yeah, I will be. Izuku rubbed his chest sitting up slowly. Maybe only a few bruises. Aizawa took the opportunity to lead Kyoka, Tenya and Ochako back to the others, with Shoto not far behind. Bumblebee, glad you showed up when you did, the teacher sighed. B jerked a thumb over his shoulder. ZRKT, and I'm not alone. Sure enough, the group heard footsteps rapidly approaching, and from around the corner came none other than RC, already in robot mode. Everyone, are you alright? RC. With her eyes brimming with tears, Ochako immediately sprinted toward her guardian Autobot, who crouched down to meet her in an embrace. It was awful. Everything was going fine until those meteors, and then those three showed up out of nowhere and… Shish, Ochako, it's alright. RC gently pat the brunette on the back, trying to calm her down. I'm here now. Everything's going to be alright. What the ACUTAL fuck? Bakugo bellowed, catching the others' attention. Bumblebee craned his head down, and immediately grimaced at the ashen blonde. ZRKT, oh, it's you. Goddamn right it's me. Katsuki retorted, stomping his way up to confront the group and the Autobots. What the fuck is even going on? He gestured to the much larger Autobots as he shouted at the rest of his classmates. You're telling me those fancy cars your pals were driving around were actually robots all along? There was a short, awkward silence before RC cleared her throat. Actually, we are the robots. Those people that drive us. Holographic avatars of ourselves in human form. She pointed down to the teens. And the short answer is that we've known these guys for the past few months, and you were none the wiser. Her answer made Bakugo's jaw drop, which was when he realized something else. Hold on, that Orion guy. That wasn't his quirk after all. He's one of you. Yes, that would be our leader, Optimus Prime. RC replied curtly. And you just happen to be Katsuki Bakugo, right? She and B narrowed their optics at him. We're not exactly big fans of you. It didn't take long for Bakugo to deduce what that meant, his attention darting down to Izuku. Oh, so what, now you're crying to giant robot cars, Deku? I'm not crying to anyone. The greenette snapped back. Not anymore. But that's besides the point. What's important is how we're going to get out of here and away from those three. QQQ*, Ga. Izuku had just narrowly avoided a bombardment of incoming lasers, thanks mainly be grabbing and pulling him away. The group all spun around to see that the three Minicons had all gotten back up, and were ready to fight again. But, in that moment, RC's confidence took a nosedive once she saw who those three actually were. Rumble, Ravage, Laser Beak. Tenya's eyes darted back and forth between their allies and their foes. RC, you know these miscreants. Instead of a proper answer, though, RC glowered at the Minicons and reached behind her back, pulling out her energy swords. Aizawa, find All Might and the others and get away from here. She ordered as B set Izuku down and activated his plasma cannon. Get the kids out of the school grounds and whatever you do, do not stop. If you see a Decepticon, run away. Understood. Aizawa affirmed, not questioning the pink femme for a second. You heard the lady, we need to move. Now hold on, just what are we even dealing with here? Shoto questioned, eyeing RC with a furrowed brow. You're not explaining anything. There's no time for drawn-out explanations. RC shouted back, and from that point on, the kids knew that the mood had firmly taken a downward turn. Short answer, Soundwave is here and he'll probably be on the hunt for you kids. Her optics softened slightly as she looked toward Kyoka. And I'm sorry to say this, but, if you see your blue boombox, get out of here as fast as you can. All of the blood drained from Kyoka's face in an instant. Wah. Rumble, on the other hand, was annoyed at the surprise being ruined. Aw, man, why'd ya have to go and spoil it? He grumbled a little, shaking his head before ultimately smirking toward Kyoka. Ah well, can't be helped. Point is, Miss Pink is right there, earlobes. We've got you to thank for bringing us in the first place. He snapped his fingers and pointed directly at her. But hey, if ya see the boss, maybe he'll play one last tune for ya before he does ya all in. He. No, Kyoka fell to her knees, unable to comprehend what she just heard. All of this, was her fault. And no, this can't be, I didn't know, I didn't mean to. Kyoka, Izuku called out, taking hold of her arm in a firm yet comforting grasp. They locked eyes, and the greenette's heart ached as he saw tears rolling down her face. I know, you couldn't have guessed this would happen. But now isn't the time to play the blame game. Right now, we need to get out of here, and fast, before the Khan's reinforcements show up. Tenya, Ochako and Shoto all nodded in unison. Yes, we must leave, now. Sucking in her lips, Kyoka took a sharp breath through her nose, screwing her eyes shut shamefully as she tried to get a grip. I know, but there'll be plenty of time to correct your mistake. Aizawa advised, taking them all by surprise. But what's important is that you live so you can do it. Am I clear? Yes, sir. With Izuku's help, Kyoka managed to stand up, her lips tightening as her resolve was steeled. Let's go, she said shakily. We've gotta find the others. Oh ho, no, I ain't running from these chumps. Katsuki belted out, clenching his hands as tiny bursts of flame erupted from his palms. Doesn't matter what form they come in, a bad guy is still a bad guy. And I ain't about to let a bad guy win, irk. However, the ashen blonde quickly found his quirk being nullified by Aizawa's own, the teacher disabling it with a single, red-eyed stare. Care to say that again, Mr. Bakugo? He said with a harsh, seething tone as he took the boy by his arm. Word of advice, when a giant alien robot tells you to run, you run. Class rep, help me here. Tenya didn't have to be told twice, taking hold of Katsuki's other arm. Yes sir, let's go, Bakugo. Hold on. Stop it. Quit it. But no matter how much he protested, the explosion user found himself being dragged down the alley and onto the main road, all while Izuku, Kyoka, Shoto and Ochako quickly followed. Before departing, however, Ochako glanced back to her guardian. RC, beat them within half an inch of their life, and then reach in and pull out their wireframing. And just like that, the brunette dashed off, leaving Autobot and Decepticon alike stunned. She's got a lot of spunk. Rumble remarked as Ravage and Laserbeak growled confusedly. That she does. RC took a battle stance, pointing her sword at the trio. More spunk than you'll ever have. B, you with me. The yellow scout gave an affirming buzz and the two dashed in, set on a collision course with the three Minicons. As all that was happening, All Might, Smintos, Snipe and Midnight were working their way through the wreckage of the building they were in, half of it being completely demolished. Thankfully, with All Might's quick timing and Smintos's quirk, they were able to stay safely shielded as the building came crashing down around them. From there, the cement-manipulating hero simply expanded his protective dome out, pushing away the rubble and allowing them to walk free. Excellent work, Smintos. All Might gave a thumbs up. Quick thinking, too. Despite himself, the teacher couldn't help but smile at the compliment. You're too kind. It was only thanks to you that everyone was safely gathered up. Now, let's work on finding the students in Aizawa. Midnight scanned the area, noting all of the falling debris and buildings still crumbling. Hopefully they haven't gone too far. I doubt it, Snipe commented. They were pretty close by. Couldn't have been thrown off that much, hopefully. Hold on. Over there. The cowboy hero pointed down the street, where he saw Aizawa and the children clambering onto the main street, while hauling Bakugo by his arms. Told ya. Knew they couldn't be far. But, why are they dragging young Bakugo? Smintos wondered. Let's find out. All Might led the way toward the group, sighing in relief when he saw that they were all alright. Everyone. I'm glad to see you're all well. Any injuries among you? Izuku shook his head. No, we're okay, All Might. Kyoka, however, had a different mentality. Unless you wanna talk emotional injuries. Young Jiro, what do you mean? Is something wrong? This mess is because of me. Craning her head back toward the alley, she drew everyone's attention to the battle taking place, watching as RC and Bumblebee collided with the small yet powerful Minicons. That boombox I brought in today, it was a Decepticon. She paused so the teachers could let her words sink in, all of them equally stunned. His name is Soundwave, and those are his minions. Tenya picked it up from there. If what we've heard from the Autobots is correct, then Soundwave is the Con's best counterintelligence officer. An expert infiltrator and data collector. None of the adults could have expected this, but it was Midnight who felt her stomach drop down to her feet. And I left it in the teacher's lounge. Where all of our computers are. That Con could be downloading all of UA's data from its servers. Smintos deduced. We need get back there and... No. Aizawa vehemently denied. If that information gets compromised, then so be it. What's important right now is getting these kids out of here and, oh no. His rant was cut short when, off in the distance, he saw a large group of 6 construction vehicles approaching. Normally, he wouldn't be worried since there had been construction happening, but these vehicles weren't yellow and black. They were green and purple. And if that weren't enough, he could see the Decepticon insignia emblazoned on all of them. It didn't take long for everyone else to notice as well, and Snipe couldn't help but swallow dryly at their presence. Kids, y'all ever seen Showdown at the OK Corral? Slowly but surely, the construction vehicles all began moving in odd ways. With Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. No. Ochako answered as all of them shook their heads. Why? WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. While the Cons assumed their robots' modes, Snipe gave a hesitant reply. I think we're right in the middle of it. Is that good? Shoto uttered, seeing the red visors and optics all glaring down at them. A lot of people died. So that's a big fat no, then. On that note, All Might took to the front of the group, balling his fists as he confronted the green and purple squadron. You, identify yourselves. Surprisingly, the lead Con seemed all too eager to do so. Certainly. Considering you, strange flesh creatures are about to meet your demise, it's only fair you know exactly who's responsible. I am Scrapper. And these are my associates, Mixmaster, Scavenger, Long Haul, Hook, and Bonecrusher. He raised a fist toward the humans as he declared, we are the Constructicons. And we are your doom. The teachers and students remained on their guard, except for Bakugo, who felt the need to insult the giant, alien robots. Bonecrusher. You can't be serious. He balked. That's such a freaking try-hard name. Dude, shut up. Kyoka snapped. Hearing his name being insulted, Bonecrusher grit his teeth, stomping his way toward the front of the group. You makin' fun of my name, Fleshy. Lemme guess, you think you can do better, right? The explosive blonde was all too keen on biting back. You bet I can. How's God King Explosion Murder sound to ya? It sounds like a fraggin' mouthful. The baneful bulldozer retorted. Also far too complex, Hook added before reaching down to his hip and taking out a black laser gun. But enough talk. It's time for action. On that note, all of the Constructicons followed suit, bringing out their own weapons. All of them were black, but varied in terms of type. Some carried pistols, others rifles. The only exception was Long Haul, whose arm transformed into a massive cannon that he aimed down at the largest Constructicon. Chortled eagerly. Hee, let's see what color mist these fleshies become when they get blown up. Not on my watch. All Might bellowed, leaping into the air faster than anyone could blink. Understandably, the Constructicons were all taken aback, their heads snapping up in shock while All Might raised his arms above his head. Alabama, SMAAAAAASSHH. Asterisk KRA Choom. All at once, the number one hero careened into the pavement and slammed both fists into it, causing a massive wave of dirt and debris to go flying toward the cons. What the arg? Scavenger was cut off when he and the others were sent flying by the attack, much to their astonishment. Smintos, now. All Might heated. While their guard is down. Understanding immediately, Smintos pressed his hands to the ground, manipulating the concrete and pavement all around him. As the Constructicons were trying to regain their bearings, a pair of massive cement pillars erupted on either side of their group, which left them even more bewildered. I believe we've underestimated these creatures. Hook deduced. Gee, what was your first clue? Yeah. Mixmaster's sarcastic reply was then buried under a mountain of concrete, leaving the Constructicons incapacitated, for the moment, at least. Ha, good. Midnight sighed. That should give us enough time to get away. Come on, kids, let's move. The group weren't about to argue as they began running in the opposite direction, only for the road to suddenly start melting behind them. Hearing the sickening hiss, they all turned back to see that Mixmaster had effectively freed himself with little effort, the guns over his head shooting a potent acid out of their barrels. Mixmaster cackled as he rose from his makeshift prison, his optics wild and unhinged. Ahahaha. Nothing a little nitric acid won't fix. Long Haul. Asterisk BWAAAAAM. From under the tarmac, a huge laser blasted up into the air, sending debris flying in all directions and forcing the humans to duck and cover. All at once, the rest of the Constructicons were freed, with the aforementioned dump truck shaking his head in irritation. Gru, well, that was annoying. Hook sneered as he and his teammates advanced toward the humans. Indeed, nobody does that to the Constructicons. He aimed his pistol down at the group, followed by the rest of his colleagues. And lives to tell the tale. However, just as the green and purple cons were about to unleash their attack. Geronimo. QQQQ. Ah. The Constructicons shouted as they were pelted by lasers from high above, courtesy of a certain white and red sky striker. The humans beamed widely as their savior pulled upright as he was about to dive into the ground, only to then transform in midair. Jetfire. Izuku and his friends all cried out. Bakugo, meanwhile, was left slack-jawed by what he saw. Holy shit. Jetfire came hovering down and took a defensive stance in front of the humans, glowering at the Constructicons. Scrapper. If you and your boys want someone to pick on, try someone your own size. He peered down at the group, spying All Might first. Unless you wanna lend a hand, good sir, the air commander offered. I'd be more than happy to. All Might readily accepted. Count me in as well. Smintos offered, ready to use his quirk again. In this environment, I'm at my most useful, after all. All Might nodded to him. Thank you, my friend. He then waved his hand out to the others. The rest of you, go and get to the bus. Return to school and we'll meet up later. Right, Aizawa affirmed, ushering the kids and other teachers to follow him. Let's move, now. With the others sprinting away, Bakugo begrudgingly so, the Constructicons were left irritated by the Autobots' sudden appearance. So, the rumors are true. Scrapper lowered his head in disappointment. The great Jetfire lives. How unsavory. Rolling his shoulders, Jetfire raised his fists, ready to throw down. You know me. Always ready to disappoint you cons. Now don't get any funny ideas, cause I've got more backup on the way. Do you? If Scrapper could smirk, he would have. Funny, so do we. Enough talk. Bonecrusher smashed his fist into his palm. Let's tussle. RRAAAAHH. With that, the 6 cons charged in with a united battle cry, with Jetfire transforming once again to take the aerial advantage. On the other hand, Smintos stayed low to the ground, using his quirk to make it unstable and throw some of the Constructicons off balance. All Might, meanwhile, shot forth and met Bonecrusher's incoming punch with one of his own, one that sent ripples through the air upon impact. Further down the street, Aizawa was leading the others away, teacher and student alike running as fast as their legs could carry them. Just a bit further and we'll be out. Shoto turned to his teacher, asking, okay, then what? Do we just hide out in the school? No, if the Decepticons make it past Jetfire and the others, that's the first place they'll go to look. Aizawa denied. Instead, we're gonna just hop on the bus and take you kids as far away from here as possible. Midnight wasn't about to argue with that plan. Right. And besides, we don't want to risk running into this Soundwave, so it's best if we just Gia. But right then and there, the group were brought to a halt when another volley of laser blasts came down and blew up in their path, taking them off guard. Ahe, 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 came a nasally sounding laugh from above, accompanied by a much duller chortle. Hoo. The group set their sights up, seeing a teal eagle and a purple ape perched on a nearby building overlooking the road. Hoo. Hey, where are you guys going in such a hurry? The gorilla Minicon called out. Extending its wings, the eagle Minicon flew down and landed on a street light closer to the humans. Yes, please stay. We wouldn't want you to miss out on the real party. Oh for foo, there's more of you guys. Kyoka snapped. Bringing a wing close to his chest, the eagle Minicon bowed. That's right, I am Squawktalk. And I'm Beastbox. The gorilla introduced himself before beating his chest. Ooh, and we've got a big surprise for you. Izuku balled his fists, ready to fight if it came down to it. We've had enough surprises for one day, thanks. Now get out of our way, before we make you. Hearing that made Katsuki perk right up. Thank God, now you're speaking my language, Deku. Let's just clobber these two and get outta. Thump. However, the boys were stopped from doing anything as a steady, thumping beat graced their ears, leaving them perplexed. But Kyoka, ever the keen ear, recognized the rhythm without even needing to think about it. This thumping, it was from a song. One of her favorites, and at any moment, the stinging guitar chord would hit in. *BWAAAAAARRRRMM. Their ears were assaulted as the guitar was struck, and from there, a droning, robotic voice said, I am Iron Man. The chord was struck a few times more as everyone's head snapped around, trying to find the source of the loud music. Gah, where's that coming from? Ochako cried out. Over there. Kyoka uttered, not having to search for long as her eyes locked onto something just down the adjacent road. It was the boombox that she had brought with her. The one she had found in that alleyway, the one that was, in reality, one of the worst Decepticons to ever cross paths with. Beastbox and Squawktalk were both chuckling in anticipation by that point, and with that, the blaring, iconic melody of the song blared out, the guitar repeating it over and over again. As Soundwave transformed, WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. The sides of the boombox shifted out and extended into his robot mode legs, its speakers suddenly changing into a large set of tires that went to the back of his calves. His arms then unfurled from within the boombox itself, while the tape deck and the main button settled on his chest and groin area. Finally, the handle folded onto his back as his head and shoulder cannon emerged from the top, his bright red visor glaring down at the humans. The group were practically frozen as he began walking toward them, striding to the beat of the song as threatening lyrics were belted out. Now the time is here. For Iron Man to spread fear. Vengeance from the grave, kills the people he once saved. As the song played out, Kyoka grit her teeth in anguish and frustration. This Decepticon, not only did he trick her into bringing him into the school. Not only did he cause all of this havoc and put herself and her friends in danger. But now, he had the absolute gall to use one of her favorite songs to make himself more intimidating. Her fear was quickly turning into anger, her fists tightening as tears continued rolling down her cheeks. Heavy boots of lead, fills his victims full of dread. Running as fast as they can. Iron Man lives again. Yeah. Unable to contain herself any longer, Kyoka sprinted forward, plugging her jacks into her wrist speakers as she screamed in utter rage. No. Izuku went to try and stop her, but it was too late. Kyoka. You bastard. The perplet seethed, unleashing her strongest move upon him. Heartbeat distortion. All at once, a cacophony of sonic waves were unleashed upon the blue Decepticon in a concentrated blast, but he didn't once make a move to get out of the way. In fact, he did the exact opposite. He raised his hand, and caught the sonic attack, which was collected into a perfect sphere of sound in his grasp. All at once, Kyoka's constitution took a nosedive, seeing her attack being clenched in Soundwave's fingers. Good. That's the reaction I was hoping for. Agony, rage, suffering, and all due to your own ignorance. Soundwave paced back and forth as he gloated over his success. I will say, Miss Jiro, I owe you a lot. Thanks to you, I now have a good portion of data from this school, and you can be assured that I'll use it very well in the future. And of course, this operation has allowed Starscream to further his own mission as well. No, Kyoka uttered as she fell to her knees. He set his sights back to her, locking his visor onto her devoid of hope eyes. But that's besides the point. Right now, in this moment, I want you to remember something. Something will remain consistent between you and I right up until the day you perish. Clenching his hand, Soundwave added his own power into the sphere of sonic waves, increasing their decibels to the extreme before stating. Soundwave, superior. Earphone jack, inferior. Thrusting his arm forward, he unleashed Kyoka's amped-up attack right back at her. And while she went to move, Izuku knew that she wouldn't be fast enough. In an instant, the Greenette activated full cowling and shot forward, yelling, no. As he scooped her up and got her out of there. However, the attack was so potent that, when it hit the ground, it sent both of them flying straight over everyone else's heads. Ah! Midoriya! Tenya exclaimed, getting ready to run after them. Jiro. However, before he could even take a single step. Choom! A ground bridge opened up, and within just a millisecond, Optimus Prime came charging through. Thankfully, the first thing he spotted was Izuku and Kyoka falling through the air, so he jumped up to catch them. I've got you, he shouted in assurance. Optimus. The duo cried in unison as the Autobot leader landed with them safely in his grasp. All at once, the others gave a sigh of relief. Ha! Oh thank goodness. Midnight uttered, seeing Grimlock, Flare Up, Eraser, Sideswipe and Roadbuster all come charging through after Prime. The cavalry is here. Hearing that, Flare Up pointed at the teacher with a smile. Took the words right out of my mouth, love. Now come on. Get over here. The humans heeded her words immediately, though the Autobot scout quickly noted that a certain explosion user was gawking at them. What's the problem there, mate? Leave that gob open too long and something'll make a next inside. Katsuki grumbled, trying to find an excuse for himself. Well, can ya blame me? This whole day's gone to shit and I've barely blown any of these dumbasses up. What'd you call 'em? Decepti-shits or whatever. The comment nearly made Roadbuster bust a gut. Bahahaha. Hey, I like this kid. He's got spunk. He nudged his chin down toward the irate human. I take it you must be this Bakugo kid I've been hearin' so much about. Well, don't worry. I'm about to rip through so much Decepticon hide, ya won't even be able to count the shrapnel. The comment actually made Katsuki smirk as the wrecker proceeded forward with his allies. Finally, someone's startin' to talk sense. Optimus knelt down, allowing Izuku and Kyoka to drop back to solid ground. Are you two okay? No injuries? We're fine, Optimus. Izuku breathed out, bowing his head in gratitude. Thanks for the save. Just then, Kyoka stepped up and lowered her head in shame. Optimus, I'm so sorry. All of this is because of. She was cut off, however, when Optimus gently raised his hand, stopping her mid-sentence. It is all right, Kyoka. I understand. After all, he shifted his optics up, narrowing his sights at the Decepticon communication specialist. You could not have known it was him. Get yourself and the others through the ground bridge. We'll handle things from here. Will you guys be okay? Kyoka asked. Prime nodded without hesitation, even though he himself wasn't certain what would happen next. Of course we will. Now go. Once the two teens cleared the way, Optimus rose up, tightening his fists at his sides as he addressed his adversary. Soundwave. Optimus Prime. Soundwave raised his arms toward the Autobot leader. It's been eons, hasn't it? Why, I think the last time we saw one another was, oh, yes, when you sent your Autobots away from Cybertron, fighting our forces by yourself so that you could buy them time. Quite the foolish decision. If it was so foolish, then why do we stand here now? Optimus retorted, gesturing toward his Autobots. We are alive and well. And over the eons, the Autobots have kept the fight going even beyond Cybertron. Perhaps, but you only delay the inevitable. Soundwave went on, all while the sounds of destruction approached. Megatron's takeover of Cybertron is nearly complete. The only thing standing in our way are a group of Autobot resistance stragglers, and you. He reached behind him, pulling out a blue, cylindrical blaster with a silver, pronged barrel. And I've been instructed to bring you back to the planet, in chains. Optimus activated his Energon axe, ready to fight as well. You'll have to rip off my limbs before that happens, Soundwave. Autobots, engage. Ah. Crash. Right as he was about to give the command, however, a whole block of nearby buildings suddenly collapsed as the Constructicons came barreling through. At the very front were Longhaul and Bonecrusher, the two bruisers in the midst of punching All Might and Smintos through the crumbling rubble and directly into the street, leaving a pair of craters as everyone watched on in horror. No. Izuku hollered, the group of humans only just reaching the edge of the ground bridge when it happened. Mr. Smintos. All Might. Why young Midoriya? All Might yelled, coughing up blood as steam began wafting off his body. Go. Leave now, before, Ahik. He was promptly silenced as Longhaul punched him again, though the hero was still able to keep his muscle form up. Ahahaha. Not so tough, now or ya, BWEEEEEM asterisk, Gia. Just then, a pair of lasers shot down and forced Longhaul off of All Might, his head snapping upward at Jetfire. Damn it. He's too high up. We need some height on these clowns. I concur, Longhaul. Scrapper said, his focus shifting toward their commanding officer. Soundwave, what say you? Soundwave took a moment to analyze the Autobot forces. They had Flare-Up and Sideswipe, both very capable warriors. There were also Grimlock and Roadbuster, who were known for leaving destruction in their wake after any battle. Erazur was a bot who he was not familiar with, but he could see that she was a Maximal, so better to play things safe than sorry. And of course, Jetfire and Optimus Prime themselves were very potent threats to them. By the end, he came to conclude that, if they didn't pull out their trump card, things could go very bad for them. His decision from there wasn't hard to make. Very well. Constructicons, merge for the kill. No. Optimus charged ahead in a desperate sprint, hollering to his team, Autobots. Stop them. Do not let them unite. The humans were left shocked and confused. Wait, merge, unite. Ochako stammered in fear. He doesn't mean. Beastbox, Squawk-Talk, deploy. Operation, Sound Barrier. With his command, Soundwave sent his Eagle and 8 Minicons out to intercept the Autobots, with Squawk-Talk belting out a deafening screech while Beastbox beat his chest, sending even more cacophonous rippled through the air and bringing the Autobots to a painful halt. Optimus tried to keep going, but even he was clenching his head in agony at that point. And to this, Scrapper raised his fist into the air. Constructicons, unite. Transform, Phase 1. With a great leap, Scrapper and Mixmaster transformed in midair, the former raising his arms while his legs collapsed into his body. The bucket on his back shifted positions as he landed on the ground, the bucket itself now resembling a foot. Mixmaster was in a similar state, the cab of his alt mode forming a giant foot with the mixing drum becoming some sort of shin guard. Hook was next, raising his own hand as he announced, Transform. Phase 2. Longhaul brought his arm up, summoning the Constructicons rig to his hand before he tossed it into the air. All of the purple pieces launched off of it as it transformed, along with the black missile pods which were caught by Scavenger and Bonecrusher. By the end, the trailer had transformed into a giant pelvis that landed on top of Scrapper and Mixmaster, which Long Haul followed up with by hopping on top. His legs folded up, forming the dump bucket of his vehicle mode, which settled on his back, while his head tucked down and his arms folded up. Taking his turn, Hook transformed into his vehicle mode, which then split in half and folded up so that the front and rear ends were now perfectly aligned. He then landed on top of Long Haul, becoming a set of mighty shoulders. The purple wings and trailer hitch then combined into a large chest plate, which connected over the duo and held them in place. Transform. Bonecrusher bellowed, tossing his missile pod into the air. Phase 3. Scavenger followed suit as they both transformed into their vehicle modes, only for a black elbow joint to emerge from their undercarriages. Bonecrusher attached to the right side of the forming Colossus while Scavenger took the left, the missile pods attaching themselves to the elbows to become the forearms. From there, a pair of purple hands shifted out and clenched into fists. No, 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 Primus no. Flare-Up cried in utter fear. Don't do this. Sorry, but this will ensure absolute victory. Soundwave dismissed, watching as the head of the massive robot emerged from Hook's back. The head itself was very blocky and, much like the other Constructicons, was mostly black with a silver forehead and face, as well as a red, threatening visor. Unclenching its hands, the new giant robot reached out and grabbed the two purple cannons that were on the trailer, before then putting them together to form an even bigger purple cannon. It then let out a baneful roar, its transformation complete and leaving the UA staff and students stunned. RRRRAHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHuttered.